Okay, am I live? I hate to make it seem like a. Ah, well, okay, cool. Let's see. Pardon the glasses here. Let me just. Howdy, everyone. Bonjour, y'all. Let's see. Holy cow, there are a lot of questions already. Hello, everyone. Let's see here. Oh, that unfortunately is going to be the room. I'll need to fix that for next time. Sorry about that. Or maybe I'm too close to the mic. Yep, and here we well. Well, if I can't get my finger to point the wrong, Crime Ellie, she's right there. So, hello. Ah, bonsoir. Shouldn't be a speaker on. Let me make sure that I don't have it on the computer. Oh, well, I can't turn that off. I don't. Oh, the speakers are off, actually. Okay, good. Well, hopefully everyone's doing well. It is warm here, but it looks like it's warm everywhere right now. Hello, everybody. Let me just scroll up here to see. Okay. The collapsing value of the U.S. dollar in the past 2. Yeah, that's not been great. I'll tell you that. Oh, good. I'm glad that's what it was. Yeah, no, it's not been great with the devaluation of the U.S. dollar right now. But it's part of being somewhere else. But yeah, right now I think it's 15%. Well, I mean, it's never been on parity, but it was getting very close prior to January. So but now, yes, it's down like I think $1 is 85 euro cents now. So yeah, it makes things much more expensive than they were 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So bonjour, everyone. 86 in Wisconsin. Yeah, that. I mean, I lived in Chicago for a number of years, and those were not pleasant summers. The city was not windy enough. But let me get her some treats here so she can. I know everybody wants to see you. I know. Oh, okay. Oh, nothing came out. There you go, Freya. There you go. We got some out for you. But yeah, it was 100 degrees here today, so very, very toasty. Although I will say I've got the walking patterns down pretty good now. That a lot of them are shaded, so it's not so bad. I mean, it's been very low humidity here, so it's not so bad. Somebody from nice, Southern California, Delaware, Crime and Ellie. Okay, lots of people in. That's very cool. And I appreciate everybody coming in, by the way. So, thank you so much. Let's see. So yeah, the devaluation, not great. Let's see, picking up the French language. Well, and that's always going to be tough if you're not in an immersive situation. So I don't work here, so it's not like I have people that I can hang out with that speak French all day. So the most I've been speaking with are some of the people at the shops I go to. So, and they've been very cool about helping out with things and all that. But no, I've pretty much got the public transportation, going in and out of the restaurants, shops, things like that, and not doing too bad with doctor's visits. But fortunately enough, people are they're all been very cool about it. I haven't encountered anybody that's been nasty at me about it yet. But you know, at some point in time, that may very well happen, and that's fine. It's my fault for not being better at it than I am, but I am working on that with that, and I've got a link in my descriptions of the videos. But italki is the system I'm using right now, and that seems to be helping out quite a bit because it's nice to be able to actually talk to somebody in the language. Google Translate, yes, Google Translate is very, very important. Eating habits. Yeah, my eating habits have actually improved quite a bit. I'm down 35 pounds, I think it is, since I moved here, just because the food quality is better. And of course, all the walking certainly helps too. Let's see. Yeah, the expats, there actually are a decent amount of expats here. I mean, it's not like it's hundreds, but there's a couple of groups that, and I'll do a video of that as to, how to make friends, how I've been making friends. And, but I probably have, I'd say probably 5 or 6 friends now here, and probably many other, people, certainly better than acquaintances, sort of thing. But Southeast Virginia, we were in Pepperdine briefly a couple years ago. Moved back for a longer visit in late July. Oh, nice. Okay, Mike and Lynette, great. That if you're here just and you got time, just send me an email and try to see if we can meet up. Let's see, retired. We're getting serious about France. Everyone's questions and your answers. Escape. Yeah, it was kind of the same way for me. I didn't consider this to be an escape from the United States. It's just that it's really, for me, it's more of a an opportunity to live a better life than what I could in the U.S. So, and especially with the healthcare system here. So, that's been good. So, yeah, but I didn't do it purely as an escape from the U.S. I mean, it's very toxic, but that wasn't my primary reason for doing this. Yeah, as far as the taxes go on those new things they're talking about, something with the expat tax, I have to do some more research into that to see what it is. But my income's not significant enough for anybody to be too worried about a 3.5% something. Let's see, to our stuff. Oh yeah, maybe I should do a video on that too. I don't know if things, Joshua. Yeah, look, I've done a lot of large moves around the United States over the years. So when I graduated from college in 1985, early 85, and moved immediately to Florida, and because I worked at NASA as a contractor there for a couple of years, and then the Challenger incident occurred. So, and then that kind of started me on my kind of more major moves around the country with both my career. So I moved to Washington, D.C., then out to Colorado Springs, was a number of years out in Colorado Springs, down to Albuquerque, and then up to Chicago. I was up to Chicago for a number of years. My folks lived on the west side of Illinois in the Quad City area, and lived there for like 30 some years. And I eventually got them convinced to move back south. And we ended up moving down to Atlanta area. Well, actually, it's on the western edge of Georgia. The town was LaGrange, Georgia, on the border of Alabama, and lived there for a number of years. Then moved out to Austin. Well, I moved to Seattle to work for Alaska Airlines for a few years, and then my parents' health situations really deteriorated quite a bit. So I moved back down to the Atlanta area, and then we moved out to Austin. Was there for a number of years. Then moved back to Atlanta, and then to France. So I've done quite a few big moves around the United States. And so while I have stuff, I didn't have anything that I was really that attached to. And those things I just had shipped here. So I had some artwork, I had some, some books, but not that much stuff, just maybe, 4 or 5 boxes of things, and maybe all told 15 to 20 boxes of stuff. And some of that stuff I probably could have left behind too. But, of course, with all the, electrical here being different, there's no need bringing any appliances or anything of that sort. So, and of course, things here are more expensive. So the appliances, well, for the appliances, they tend to be more expensive. So, but then it's just a matter of just figuring out what's important to me and, what I actually going to look to replace. So it really hasn't been all that bad. I mean, there's a lot of people that I see on that, and hello to everybody that's saying hello, by the way. No, Patrick, yeah, it's it's super hot, and it's not normally this hot, and especially in June. So it's been a bit of a bubble here. Yeah, that let's see, going through. But in any case, I just want to say that part of it was just the part of one of the longest portions of the actual move was just getting rid of crap and just giving it away. I didn't really sell that much stuff. I mean, I just either gave it away to family or friends or neighbors or anybody that wanted to take it. Um, the company that I had in Atlanta was connected with like one of the universities there with, and then I would get some of the rugby players to help out with deliveries and pickups and things like that. And my friend Richard and I, and who's the guy that's here with you, doing we're housemates. We had the business there, and it was doing property stagings and rentals of furniture and furnishings to other property stagers and interior designers. And and so we had the guys there because we just needed, younger legs and backs to do all the actual work of it. So, in any case, those guys always could use something. So we gave away just lots of furniture and stuff to the guys and the gals on the teams that were helping us out. So that wanted to do that. But yeah, the actual I've had a couple of people reach out. Oh, let's see, total moving cost to ship import those 15, 20 boxes. Is probably, well, for the both of us, it was around $5,000, I think, for the stuff. But we had no furniture. It was really just all boxes, and the company came and palletized everything, and then it took a while. It was like I think 3 months before we saw the stuff, but um, that was also pre-tariffs and all that other hoo-ha. But it really wasn't that bad getting the stuff through. It just it's how, pardon me, household belongings. So oh, hey, Linda from Atlanta. Yeah, that yeah, Atlanta, they call it Hot Atlanta for a reason, right? That let's see here. Wow, a lot of people coming in. And I really do appreciate this. I figured it was just going to be me jabbering on to myself for a while. Let's see. Let's see. The stuff. Yeah, Joshua. I'm sorry. I should have just looked at the rest of your comment there. It For me, I consider this sort of a move to be a cleansing. so so it's just a matter of just let the stuff go. I mean, the thing is, especially here, there as an expat, is very hard to get and an immigrant. So we just kind of get through that. Um, it's very tough to find a place to rent, and if you do find a place to rent, they typically are furnished. Although I have to say that this place here that I'm in now is furnished, but it was somebody's home, and the owners, um, he's Australian and his wife is French, and they had a couple of young kids. But he played rugby here in Perpignan as a professional, and for like 15 years, and he retired, and so he wanted to get his family back to Australia. So that's where they are now. But so the furnishings here are much nicer than what I've had from other like Airbnbs or other rentals that were like the apartment that I had first here. The furniture was awful, just absolutely awful. The beds were awful. It was really just a mat on a frame, and I'm just I that's that's not my vibe. So let's see. Planning to move to the EU. Most of us are running away, looking to escape. Transfer tax. Okay, looks like we've made it through. Yes, what is the censor right now? Okay, I think we've made it through those initial questions. And if I miss anything, please just type it in the thing. And I apologize. This is my first live, so I don't mean to spend a lot of time just looking at things, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing somebody. I will say, Greg, with the Catalan culture, it's very prevalent here, and which is great. I would say this area, because it's very close to the border of Spain. I would say this area has a very noticeably high Spanish influence and Catalan influence. So it's not as French as some of the other areas of the country, so that for take that for what it's worth. I mean, there certainly are French food and French restaurants and things like that here, but it is very much an identifying characteristic here of it being Catalan. So, oh, sorry, Katie, Katya. No, I've had questions asked me about, is it worthwhile trying to keep anything that you find, or just get rid of your stuff before making the move? And, and so I just, hopefully that helped answer that. Then I had people asking me with 14 to 15 boxes, how much did it cost to ship it? So I've gone through that. It's like I said, it really wasn't that bad of the stuff. Would it have cost me $5,000 to replace the stuff? Maybe not, but some of the stuff was important enough for me just to bring with. So, okay. So Greg's got, my wife and I are looking to relocate to the area around Perpignan or Béziers and maybe Cannes. We'd love to hear more about your visits, Cannes and the beach towns near Perpignan. Yeah, I've only been, well, no, that's not true. I haven't only been to Cannes. I've been to Cannes, Collioure, Argelès-sur-Mer, and Bagnols-sur-Mer, which is all further south of Perpignan. And Cannes is the one that I actually went out and touched the Mediterranean. And so it's only, I mean, everything, just to kind of also preface it, I don't have a car. And so everything I do here is by public transit, so the bus. And taking the bus, there's a bus that comes, goes out to Cannes Sud, and it's very close to Perpignan. So it's maybe 20 minutes from city center, 25 minutes from city center, and it has a number of stops on the way out. But it just, and I think they also have an express bus that might go during the summer between Cannes and the train station, the Gare TGV train station here. So obviously it's very popular for people to be out in Cannes. Collioure is about a 20-minute train ride south of Perpignan, fishing village. Beautiful, lots of history to that too. There's a castle there that you can go through and explore. Beautiful seafront area. A lot of walking, and it's very, very much a steep hill going down either from where you have to park if you drive there, or if you came in on the train. They're kind of all in the same spot, but it's just a beautiful village, but very touristy. So lots of opportunities for great Instagram photos and things of that sort. But during the summer, it's an absolute zoo there type thing. So let's see. Bonjour Montreal. Let's see. Oh, Heather's asked if I've considered buying a car. Not really, not yet. I'm hoping that I don't ever really need one. I've been able to rent a car if I've needed something that was kind of required me to, or a van to pick stuff up if I need to. But most of the stuff I just figure I can get it delivered, and there's no real point. I don't really want to go to the expense of it. And it's not, I've driven around, this part of the area. I've driven around through Perpignan. I've driven around, I've driven up to Toulouse and all that with a rental car. But, and it's really not that bad. Of course, I'm used to driving in Seattle, Chicago, Atlanta, so nothing's going to be that bad. I can't even imagine Paris would be as bad as that. So, but in any case, but no, I'd rather not have the car. I don't really want the expense. I'm in the process now of getting my driver's license exchanged, which could take 8 or 10 months, something like that. So, I don't know. The processes here, the bureaucracy here tends to be very silent. And so, I figure I'm not gonna kick a sleeping dog. So just, you just kind of let things go. And then once it's, once something happens, it happens. So, let's see. Your location is perfect. You're very close to Spain. Beautiful area like Canada. Yes. It's a beautiful area. I mean, especially, well, not especially, but going south towards Spain and into Spain and all that. It's just beautiful going down to Barcelona by train, by car, whichever way. But I prefer going by train just because it's easier. Let's see. Hi from Sweden. Hello, Sweden. Yeah, Freya gets kind of perplexed on things. I can have birds on the there's a sunroom off the back of the house, and it has a roof on top of it with skylights, and so there could be birds on it. Of course, now she looks like she's just trying to get some sleep, but so birds tend to like to come up on there and hang out for a while, and of course, if I have the window open, she loves that. But other than that, got the screen kind of down right now because the sun's just very intense right now this time of year. So let's see. Barcelona's way driving. Yes, yeah. I've let's see. I drove down to the airport one time to take Richard down to the airport to drop him. He was flying back to the U.S. So, and I think it took me 2.5 or 3 hours to get to the airport. But the airport is a little bit west of the city. So, and it was during the week and it was during the morning. So I had a little bit of rush hour traffic and all that. But I mean, certainly nothing I haven't been through before type thing. So let's see. Not too personal. Were you on Medicare before you left for France? No. And actually this year I'm going to be signing up for Social Security. So that I'll do in August. And but no, I won't actually be qualified for Medicare for a couple more years. And I don't really need it. I know that there's a penalty if you don't sign up for it and you decide to go back and all that. But I'm hoping that I'll just be in Europe kind of the rest of my life. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, if there's a penalty, there's a penalty if I end up going back to the United States at some point. Let's see. Yes, Andrea. Yeah, no, Spain's super close by. Oh, and Mark, nice. Cool that you're moving to Nice, I guess, in September. That's cool. Just had some friends move to Nice. February, I think it was. They ended up landing there. They love it there so far. Oh, lots of Spanish speakers, Elizabeth, who visit Perpignan. There's a lot of Spanish here. Hey, Jean-Marc. Hello from France. Bonsoir. Côte d'Azur. Giovanni's asking about the Southwest of France. Pretty cheap and a good climate. Yeah, actually, so far it seems like, although obviously right now it's very hot, which is abnormally hot right now. But it really is a drier climate. So usually in the morning it might be a little humid, but then usually by afternoon it's dropped into the 30% or less humidity. So I've heard of a couple of people who have moved from Bordeaux down here because they had a kid that was like something more asthmatic, some issues with asthma, and they were just having a hell of a time in Bordeaux, and so they ended up moving down here, and apparently it's worked out great for them. So yeah, it really is a drier climate, but along with that comes the heat too. So hello, M from Denmark. Oh, and Diana, hello. Excuse me, Gerard. Well, not everybody. Let's see. Do you take the trip to Lusat for oysters? Oh my gosh, no. I have to say, I cannot stand oysters. It's a texture thing. When I lived in Florida, I couldn't do them either. Giovanni, yeah, as European, yeah, it's astounding to me how much of a fight that's been over the decades for getting universal health in the United States. Obviously, some deep pockets somewhere with things, but the primary problem I have is because I have gone through cancer treatments with let's see, 2016 was when my mother passed away, and then like was it 3 months later or so, something like that, I was diagnosed with cancer. She didn't die from cancer, but and then so I went through the treatments for that. But I had at the time I was on the Affordable Care Act, what they call Obamacare, but it's the Affordable Care Act, and so that allowed me to actually have insurance coverage without it being super expensive. But our current administration keeps wanting to target that, and the Republicans and all this sort of thing. Not to get too political with anything, but that's always been targeted, and that's been my primary reason for looking to move to Europe. Was that if that goes away, I'd looked at getting private insurance before, but because of my prior cancer, which is right now is in remission, so knock on wood, that just stays that way. But um, it was like $4,000 a month. If I could find a policy with like Blue Cross Blue Shield, it was like $4,000 a month with like a $20,000 deductible. I mean, nobody can afford that. I don't. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And then they're like, "Well, you can get a job with it." It's like, "Oh, okay, corporate job. Somebody in my 60s. How? Yes, I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of people looking to hire at that." So, in any case, so let's see. Go through some of these here. So yes, I'm one of those believers that healthcare should be a human right and should be something that's provided to people. How long does it take you to get your residency card if you've got one? I actually just got the approval for my renewal, my visa renewal, and last week or two, might have been a week and a half ago by now. Um, I made the appointment. I got the text message saying that my residency card was ready at the prefecture here in Perpignan, and so my appointment's on July 23rd. So they were like a month out from when you got the notice to get the appointment. So, but friends of mine who've gotten their residency cards said the appointment lasted like 5-10 minutes. It was very quick. They just need to make sure they identify you and get you the right paperwork, and then they hand you the residency card. So Heather Whittington, what was your motivating factors for you to do the move? So the primary one, like I said, was about the healthcare. I'm not concerned about the cancer necessarily coming back, but it could. So, and I just thought it's like, well, if I'm retired with income, with my passive income, it's like that will bankrupt me. And then of course, once you get on Medicare, then there's going to be some coverage for that, but it's not going to be necessarily 100%. So it was like, I'm young enough. I've got the ability to do this. So I figured, what the heck, make the jump and just give it a go. Worst comes to worst, if something happens where this just doesn't work out, then I can always move back to the United States, but that's not my objective. So we're looking to move to the Toulouse area this October. How difficult was it to? Oh. Well, Ferdinand, I don't know what the rest of your question was, but moving to Toulouse. Toulouse looks like a really cool city. Somebody I think had also asked if I was going to be planning on staying in Perpignan, and I don't know that that's going to be the case. I think I'm really going to look for something that's a bit bigger of a city. So I was thinking maybe I was going to, well, not thinking, I will take a trip to like Lyon to check it out. I don't really want to live in Paris. I think it would be too expensive. I do have to keep track of how much things cost. So and I'm trying to make sure I don't look like I'm completely disheveled here, but in any case, it's just a matter of, I'm going to look at Montpellier and then also Lyon. I think Montpellier, I've been to Montpellier because that's where the immigration office is for doing the initial, once you come here with 1-year visa, and within 90 days, you have to get the visa activated. Once you do that, that gets them contacting the OFII, which is the immigration office here. And eventually what you do is you'll have to they'll send you a notice about when your appointment is, the day and the time. And there's no like, let's make an appointment, or it's like, this is the day, this is the time, that's what you have to do. And but in any case, it's just a matter of going to it. And that's up in Montpellier for this region. And so I've been there and I really liked it, but I would just be a little more concerned that Montpellier might be too university student-ish sort of thing. So while it's appealing that it's not, while appealing that they have trams and they have all these other things, I don't know how it is during the summer, or if it's like a lot of things close down because there's no students and there's not that much of, people that live there full time or whatever. So, let's see here. Didn't you have health insurance with the many jobs you had? Oh yeah, no. Janie's asked if I'd had health insurance with many jobs. I've always had health insurance. Yes. So yes, I've had that, but I've actually had to put it to use starting in 2016 versus kind of the rest of the time where it's just going in for checkups and, kind of minor bits and pieces. So let's see. We hope you keep on, Jeff, and you're the best place now with the Carte Vital. Yes, Jean-Marc, thank you so much. Yeah, it just, and again, I've never, emigrated somewhere else. So this is my first time doing this. And, and people were going on and on and on about France and Italy and the countries with all the issues they have with um, the paperwork and bureaucracies. But honestly, it really hasn't been all that bad here. And I mean, of course, most of my jobs were highly tedious, so maybe I'm just kind of numb to it. But you just let the process do its thing, and eventually, if I make a mistake, which I did, I mean, I've made plenty of mistakes with the Carte Vital process, and I probably made some mistakes with the driver's license exchange as well. But with the Carte Vital, they were very good about just sending me, and they love their snail mail. So they would send me a snail mail saying that, hey, we need, your birth certificate in the original language, because I thought they maybe just wanted it in French, and then something else they needed type thing, maybe another clarification. But, I've heard people say that it's like, well, they asked me for the same thing like 3 times and I got mad and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if they ask you for the same thing 3 times, just send it in 3 times. It's not, you don't know who's processing it at the time. If someone's been gone for, because they really take work-life balance seriously here. And so if they're gone for 3 weeks or whatever type thing, someone else has taken the file, and maybe they don't know where it is, type thing. So I always give them, just, you ask me for the same document 3 times, you're getting it 3 times. And I'm not going to bellyache one bit about it. It's how to go. John Mark, congratulations on the renewal notification for year 3 sent to me via. Did you get a 3-year extension, John Mark, or was it just you've got this? You got the renewal, yeah, because I got the renewal notice through mail or through email, and then the prefecture texted me saying that the card was ready. So, so next year it'll be just the renewal of the card. I'm sure it's going to be the same process, but let's see here. Let's see. Heather is asking, why did you choose France? Well, actually, it looked at several options. Looked at Italy, looked at Spain, looked at Portugal, kind of the standard. You're an American. This is kind of where you're looking to go to. So Italy was a nightmare for looking at the paperwork, for doing it. And then at the end, it looked like they said it could take up to a year to get either approval or denial type thing. It's like, okay, I don't really want to wait that long for the process. It wasn't that important to me. And Spain taxes your, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a tax expert. I'm not an attorney. I'm not any of that. So take anything I say with a grain of salt. But Spain looked like they taxed your Social Security income. So that was a no. It's like, no, I don't want to have to deal with that. But there are a lot of American expats that go that direction. So, maybe there's some other benefit that I just didn't see. But as soon as I saw that, it was like, no, that's not that important to me. And Portugal just has not been a real draw to me. I mean, it's not because of the Portuguese language or anything like that. It's just that I personally, and although I'm in one of the warmest climates on the planet, I'm not a beach person. I'm not you can kind of tell here, I'm pretty pasty white. So it's, I'm not outdoorsy. I'm not a beach person. I like sun, but I like looking at it and I like walking in it, type thing. But it's not a high priority for me. So, if I found a place that was a little cooler with a little less sun, maybe a larger population, I'd be like, okay, well, we'll look at that. But no, that's why France. France was very simple to the process, even though there is a lot of paperwork to it. It really wasn't that hard to do, and it's very quick. So send in the paperwork, and let's see, I did the online application. I did that myself, and then made the appointment with, at the time it was VFS Global, which now it's a different company, but they're in the same cities in the United States, but it is a different company now that handles the paperwork, sending it off to the French embassy in Washington D.C. But the sent the paperwork off. I got notified by email, I think within like a week, 7 or 8 days, maybe a week. It was no longer than that. I think it was sent in on. I had a meeting on Friday to drop off the paperwork at VFS Global. By the next Friday, I had my passport back in my hand with the approved visa. So it just was a lot simpler. And plus, I had learned. I had 7 years of French in high school and in college, and but of course that was 40 years ago. But I have a basic concept of the language, so I figured I could at least read things. I could talk basically to people and all that. So it's not like I was coming over here without any sort of language knowledge. It just was old, So let's see. France, I had breast cancer. Good divorce, staying. Yes, I love her. Oh, Cheryl, yeah. Sorry to hear about your breast cancer. I hope everything's all right, and you're on a road to recovery now. But yes, the healthcare treatment has been fantastic here. Jean-Marc, do you plan to buy your own house in the future? I don't know. I've owned several homes over the years, like when I've lived in Florida, I lived in DC, I lived in Colorado Springs. I had a home built in Albuquerque when I lived there. Went through a couple of renovations in Chicago. Renovated a place in LaGrange, Georgia when I moved down there. I only rented when I was up in Seattle, and then because I still had my house in Georgia, and then moved back down to that house. And then when I moved out to Austin, Texas, I bought a place there and renovated it. And then in Atlanta, was just renting a place because I didn't know really where I was going to end up yet, some type thing. So in any case, I don't know that I'm ready to get back on the property ladder. I like the idea of doing it just because then I know that I don't have to worry about somebody wanting to sell the place I'm renting. But as far as I'm doing right now, I don't have any immediate plans to look to buy anything. I just will stick with renting for now. Can you tell us more about that appointment, please? With the, oh shoot, I should have been paying more attention to this. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Oh, Jean-Marc, thank you for the heads up on Montpellier. It looked like a nice city, but again, I've only visited it for the immigration meeting. The appointment, please. Orville, I'm going to assume it's the appointment for the Global VFS. What else were we talking about? That with them, all you're really doing, if that is what you're asking about, all they're really, the VLSTS to residency permit. Yeah. To residency permit. Oh, so are you asking about the appointment? I haven't been to the appointment yet here for the residency card. So, I'm assuming it's, like I said, the friends of mine that have been through it said it was very quick. They just verify you're whatever process that is, aside from your passport. I think they also, because when you go to the VLS appointment in the United States for your initial one, they take some biometric data, like they'll take your fingerprints, things like that. So I think what they do is they just randomly select a finger, and that's what they use to scan to see if they've confirmed that you are you, and along with your passport and all that. So it seemed like it was pretty quick, but I haven't been to mine yet. And Richard, the friend of mine here, goes tomorrow. Yeah, the 30th of June. He's got his residency card tomorrow. Let's see. Let's see. So here we go. We'd be doing videos when you look at other places. DD Curtis asked if I would be doing videos. We'll look at other places to live besides Peppermint. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I apologize. The frequency has been a little wonky. It's just that when it got so hot so quick, it's a little tougher to get out there to do some real videos with things. But I'll do a couple more, just more sitting down, chit chat type videos of things that I think will be useful for folks. But absolutely, now that I'm getting a little bit more of the hang of it with filming things and getting some pieces together, I know I'll definitely of other, like if I go to Lyon or if I go to Montpellier and all that, I'll definitely get that. Um, how difficult was it to get a French bank account? Ferdinand asked. It really wasn't that difficult. I reference Valerie quite a bit in my descriptions of the videos and all that. Valerie Jenkins is the woman that I use here that helped me find the initial apartment and then find this place that I'm currently in. And she was also able to help me with getting utilities set up and things like that were all just like super amount of French, well beyond what my ability is to do. And there are some banks that have English speaking lines to it, but Valerie offered to help me out with it, and she banked at Banque Populaire du Sud, and so that seems to be a good bank, and I didn't really care at the time. So the I just wanted to get a French bank account set up. So she took me there and to one of the branches and worked through the whole thing. I just had my paperwork with me, just kind of handing them pieces of paper periodically when they'd ask for it, and the passport and all that type of stuff. And so she was a champ on that sort of thing. It took it, as I recall in the U.S., it's usually fairly quick, but of course I'm a U.S. citizen, all that sort of hoo-ha. But here it was like 2 hours or something like that, and I don't know how much of that was just people chit-chatting versus, I mean, it's not like we're all hanging around just having a croissant and drinking coffee. So they were doing things at the time, but I just that did seem to take a very long time to get through that process, but she helped out with that. So it really wasn't that hard to do. It's just that, and I think it's easier now that they seem to be getting more banks because it's because of the U.S. banking system and the IRS requirements that there's so much regulation assigned to Americans looking to open up foreign bank accounts that the IRS and all these other people in the U.S. want to know about them. And so there's a lot of the banks here, and I'm sorry if I keep adjusting this, it just seems like I'm a little wonky, but because of that, there are banks here that just don't want to deal with Americans because it's like, we don't want to deal with all that. So, but they seem to be opening up because, like I said, there are some banks now like Credit Agricole and what is it, BNP Paribas. They seem to have like a lot of connections with American accounts and all that. So, but this Banque Populaire du Sud is more like it seemed like it was more like a credit union than a bank. So, but they're nice people and it's worked out just fine so far. I will say that one thing that did strike me odd, and I'll put this in a video too, that is some still reliance on checks. And I mean, I probably hadn't written a check in years, type thing. But to get Freya, and again, it's probably just because of the vet that I went to, but to get Freya registered in the French system, I had to send a check for 11 euros to ICAD, which is the system that they have for the French system for tracking animals with microchips and all that. And so she had everything else. She had the microchip, she had all that other stuff, but I could only send a check. There was no paying online. There was no saying, you don't want to send cash, but all that. And so I stopped at the bank, and because I remember them asking me if I wanted a checkbook, and I thought, no, I don't need a checkbook. I'm sure I'll pay most of my stuff through either the debit card or through, whatever, debit card or just direct bill out of the bank account type thing. Well, then come to find out the one time I needed a check. So, and of course, nobody else had checks. Anybody could write the check. It doesn't have to be from me. But so I stopped at the bank to see if they could do like a counter check. Well, the counter check was going to be, did somebody send me some money? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that's very kind. Orville, thank you so much for Freya. Okay, I'll make sure she keeps in. You can see she's collapsed here. Whoops, she's collapsed here from probably lack of treats. But in any case, to get a counter check, it was going to cost me like 50 euros for the counter check. I'm like, well, for 11 euro check, that's probably not worthwhile. So I had to wait almost 2 weeks for the checkbook to come in. And they send you a checkbook, and it's like 40 checks. Well, I don't know if all banks do it, but Banque Populaire du Sud sends it this way. And they're kind of odd to write out, but certainly figure it out. You can figure out what to do. And I just I got the kind of a kick because the people at ICAD were very patient about the whole thing. They kept sending me emails, Mr. Arnold, we need to have this check in order to process Freya for her registration. And I'd send an email back saying, I appreciate that, and I'm just waiting for a check to come in so I can send it to you. And I sent them the check, and within within a couple of weeks, they cleared. So then they got the notice that she was all registered in the system. So, but I read an article that 70% of the checks in the EU come from France. So the French must still love their checks. But let's see here. From the experience, I wouldn't recommend buying unless you want to spend a lot of time fixing them. It's been a pain. Andrea, a lot of French homes are older. From our experience, I wouldn't recommend buying unless you want to spend a lot of time fixing. Yeah, I totally agree with that. My primary concern would be able to find somebody that I can communicate with and be able to get things done that I want to get done. So it's never say never, but it's not likely. We'll see what happens with that. Bonsoir, Al. Bonsoir. He says, yes, Nice looked like a beautiful area. Oh, Brian saying the TLS contact isn't the same U.S. cities. Oh, okay. Well, like I said, take what I say with a grain of salt. I'd read an article when it initially came out saying they were in the same 10 cities, but apparently that's not true. So as intense and amazingly, France seems a lot less strict. Yeah, Orville, I didn't actually go through the other ones, but the ones for Italy just seemed like it was going to take way too long. La Dolce Vita. Oh, hey, Susan, how you doing? Hope all's well with you. Thanks for joining in. Hey, Sherry from Tyler, Texas. Wow, okay. Been a while since I've been to Tyler, Texas. Oh, thank you, Jean-Marc. Yeah, it looks like once you get the card, you can travel around. Mike Abbott, 99 views and only 3 likes. Why do we only have 3 likes? Why is that? I don't even know where to even look for that. Oh, here it is. Oh, we're up to 63 likes. Okay, well, thank you. Oh, my gosh. Okay, that's where it's kept. All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for doing that. That's somebody who still has a social job. They're very nervous. My son's studying and lived in France. Sherry, oh, sorry to hear that. Hope it all goes well. Yeah, I lived in Austin for a number of years. It's a great city. Now it's super expensive. Well, I don't know what it is now. I mean, been away from there for a couple of years, but very, very expensive and like living in an oven as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it was like 100 degrees plus for like 9 months out of the year. Like my region, it's like 34 degrees. John Mark, ooh, okay, that's toasty too. Oh, Jess, thank you for that reminder for folks. Let's see, but expensive and hot in the summer. Heather's asking that she said that Lyon is lovely but expensive and hot in the summer. She's looking to retire in northern France, Rouen or Rennes. Have you considered northern France? Well, not a lot, but I'm not against it. I just if I'm going to be honest, if the UK hadn't done Brexit, I probably would have gone to Scotland, type thing, because that's kind of my heritage. All my grandparents from Scotland, but they're not part of the EU now, so it's and it's also very expensive, So I just it's like, well, I don't mind the weather aspect of it. It just seems like it's very, very expensive. Jean-Marc uses Credit Agricole. Okay, cool. Yeah, they seem to be ubiquitous. I mean, they're all over the place. Can one keep one's home and citizenship in USA and still get the French visa? Rose is asking if you can keep one's home and citizenship in the USA and still get the French visa. Absolutely. And you might even be able to get a French citizenship along with your U.S. citizenship. I don't know. Again, anything I say, take it with a grain of salt. But you can absolutely. I still have my U.S. citizenship. So let's see. Joe, hi Jeff. What is the minimum monthly passive income, retirement, etc. Does France require for long-term visa? I live in Colorado Springs. Oh, hey Joe. Yeah, no, I love Colorado Springs, except in the wintertime. Now this is a long time ago that I lived there, but but yeah, when that sun went over the Front Range, it started getting dusk like at 3:30 in the afternoon. That was driving me a little nuts. But For the monthly passive income, does France require for long-term visa? Mine was more from because I don't have much of a passive income with things. Mine was more from my IRA savings that I had. So as long as you had, I think, and again, you really have to check on this because things change over time. Um, I want to say it was like 25,000 in savings for your first year that and then some sort of passive income that goes in with it type thing. They just obviously want to make sure that you don't become kind of a ward of the state. So as long as you have some passive income, I want to say it's probably when I got my residency renewal, they said on there was like 615 euros, but I don't know if that was because of taking into account my savings that I had. So, to be honest, Joe, I would, the website will tell you. And actually, I got my information, I got more information from Fabian at Fab Insurance, and I've got his links in my video descriptions. And super nice people, and they speak perfect English. And Fabian might be able to provide you some more details about that too. But I believe it says on the website as to what they're looking for your minimums for passive income, and it might change every year. Let's see, Mike got everyone's attention though. Okay, cool. Which European nation is most supportive of the arts? Elizabeth is asking if anybody here knows which EU nation is most supportive of the arts. Um, so far, a lot of them seem to be very supportive. I know certainly France is, but I don't know what you're looking for support. I think you'd be kind of hard pressed not to find most of the nations are going to be very supportive of the arts. Let's see. Lindy's asking how easy is it to make French speaking friends, or they take a long time to warm up? Well, and to be honest, I don't know. I've got some French speaking friends, but it's only because I've kind of run into them and talked to them several times, or either see them at the bus stop or run into them downtown or something like that. So it's and also there's some of them that go to the English speaking meetups, and so you'll get some French people in there that just because they want to learn how to do more English type thing. So but I would say and just to be honest, I don't know about it. But I would say it's probably a little difficult just because it's like going to the US and people not speaking English and coming in, and it's like you want to be friendly to folks, but it's like do I want to take on somebody that's rudimentary in the language right now? So it just depends. Let's see. So Sherry, so accomplished yet so I love cats. Well, thank you, Sherry. That's very kind of you to say. I've had cats for 38 years now, something like that. So I just, when I first moved to Florida, I've had dogs when we were growing up. So I love dogs too. But when I first moved to Florida, I traveled a lot. And so, but I wanted a pet, and I was never gone for very long, but I just wanted to have, something. So that was my first cat, and I had her for 17 years. And she moved with me to DC, moved out to Colorado Springs, moved down to Albuquerque. She took her up to Chicago. That was horrible. It just was, just trying to get her sedated properly, and that just didn't work out. And but you live and you learn as you do these things. So, but no, I've always had, and the cats have always come from rescue pounds. Freya, she's from Austin, from the pound there in Austin. Got her as a kitten, and she's a little terror at times, but right now she just seems to be more interested in laying down. So let's see, or 11 euros. Yeah, I know. For all the things, it's like 11 euros. Let's see. The requirement of the amount of yearly or monthly. Oh, you're right, Gerard. That is based off of yearly income. Oh, Sherry, that's cool. Yeah, I've never had. Well, might consider them some of them special needs, but it wasn't a physical. Um, but in any case, yeah, that I haven't had any of them that had any physical issues. Thor was my biggest cat, and that was, and I also learned, anybody that's a cat person probably already knows this, but I always had cats. Well, my first one was Anya, and that's a Swedish derivation. Well, the person from Sweden can correct me on this, but it's a Swedish derivation of the word annoyance, and and she was a great cat. I mean, just she lived to be like 18 years old, something like that. But she was by herself, and I always thought, I was like, oh, maybe I should do something different and have them at least paired, so they have a friend, they have a buddy. So from then on, I always got pairs. Well, then I started encountering where one would pass away typically because of cancer, which seemed oddly common with cats. But in any case, I gotta stop futzing with my cat with my glasses here. But in any case, but when I found out that if I had a male and a female, and the female passed away, the male was super needy and would walk around room to room, howling, looking for their buddy, all that sort of thing. And the vet in Austin had told me, is like, oh, well, that's how male cats tend to be, is that they'll be much more needy if they have a buddy, type thing. I'm like, and then it said, but female cats will be much less of that. So when I had two males, Max and Thor. Thor was one that was a replacement for Callie, who was a female that passed away. But in any case, so to get back, so anyway, Thor was a rescue that was somebody had abandoned a kitten on a vet tech's front lawn. And she said, now this kitten's big, and he's probably like 25% bigger than the other cats. Is that a problem? I was like, oh, no, I don't care. I don't care if it's a big cat, that's fine. Well, turned out that Thor was a Norwegian forest cat type. And so, I mean, he was like 24 pounds and not fat, he was enormous. He was the size of a medium-sized dog and long hair. So that was a lot of upkeep. And so anyway, then Max passed away. Thor was needy. So then I came across Freya at the Austin, I hesitate to call them a pound, but it's rescue center, whatever the nicer version they had, no kill shelter. And so I picked her up, and they were just great chums. Well, then Thor ended up having issues with mast cell tumors he would throw. And it just got to the point where it's like, okay, he's got like 5 or 6 of them or something like this. It's like, okay, and they could go anytime, he could have no more for a year. He could have 10 more in a year type thing. And it's like, and they were just in like horrible places to try to do surgery on and all that. So the doctor just suggested that, he go ahead and get put down. And so that's what I ended up doing. And Freya's been so far perfectly fine with it. So that I'm happy with. And we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to do another pet after Miss Freya goes, but we'll see what happens. Cedar Ridge, Colorado. Hello, Kathy. Oh, thank you for liking. That's very much appreciated. Oh, Gras and Nice. Yes, Diana. The beautiful areas. Very expensive. Kind of beyond my current budget. My son works at the LBJ reading room. Oh, Sherry, that's cool. That's a great place. And hello, Annette from New Orleans. Let's see. Lola asks, what's the most difficult part of moving to France? I don't know that there was, the most aggravating part was the health paperwork for Freya to come in. My vet had said, and they'd sent horses and show dogs and all kinds of things over to Spain in the past. And they're just like, oh, no one's ever, it's never been too late to get the paperwork and all that. Well, we know that that's going to immediately curse whatever you get. And so so of course UPS messed up, and I ended up having to spend an extra week in Atlanta, extending the hotel, extending the rental car, all that hoo-ha, changed my flight. And fortunately I was able to get all that taken care of. But that was probably the most aggravating part of it, was just this arcane system of having to have this paperwork that nobody gave one hoot about on the way over. But of course, if I didn't have it, then everybody would have cared, and there have been some other issues that went on. I needed it for here, but for the travel, it just didn't turn out to be all that necessary. So, but I don't know. The most difficult part, aside from that, just orchestrating getting a place to live. Just now, I'd seen YouTube videos at the time that were saying that you had to have a long-term lease set up for it, and so that's what I had in my mind for this. Well, then I come to find out that you really just need to have like a 3-month Airbnb somewhere, and you know that works. So that would have made that process a lot easier. But I don't know if I would have met Valerie at that point. So I'm just glad that I've met Valerie. She's just been an absolute dream person. She's helped out so many people in trying to find a place. So let's see, New Orleans. Hi from Seminole, Florida. Oh, hello, Pamela. Orange, nice temperate region. Oh, thank you, Jean-Marc. I'll have to look into that. Oh, the heat and weather and preparing your experience in Austin, Atlanta, or Albuquerque. Albuquerque, I thought probably had some of the best weather to me. I mean, it's not super exciting city, but weather-wise, I mean, it could be 95 degrees outside, and I could still be out washing my car, and I was perfectly fine with it. Very dry. It was semi-arid alpine, I think is what they considered it. So it was fine. And maybe a couple of days bad driving during the winter, but aside from that, it wasn't that bad. Atlanta, to me, Atlanta was not as bad a summer as it was in Chicago. Honestly, Chicago, there were so many times I could not catch my breath when you walked outside. That humidity was so high. And so, of course, Chicago has horrible winters and horrible summers, and so not great. And Austin, to me, was okay weather, but so blazing hot for so long throughout the year that just kind of drove me nuts. And Cedar Fever during the wintertime just knocked me out. Let's see, Diane. French citizenship is complex and takes years. Oh, I'm sure it does. I don't know that I'm going to be targeting getting citizenship. I'm fine. Giovanni, Scotland's beautiful. I just absolutely love the thought of Scotland. It's just that it's so expensive. Jean-Marc said it's 1,750 euros per month requirement. Okay. Kirkcaldy, Scotland. My grandmother never was a U.S. citizen. She's threatened with the Oh, wow, Sherry, that's interesting. No, my family is primarily outside of Glasgow. Let's see. Nice is great weather-wise, except July and August. Yeah, Mark, it should make things a little easier. I know that now that Freya has her pet passport, getting her traveling around, of course, not going to be dragging my cat if I'm going to be dragging around unless it's a move. But Peppermint has a much drier climate. Yes, Gerard, it's true. It really is a dry climate. And I know people really harangue about the winds, but when it's warm out, I don't mind it being a little breezy. And we've had several days where it's not been super breezy, but I don't know that the winds to me, I mean, it's kind of windy everywhere I've been. So there are times where it's practically tornadic, getting around. So, I mean, there's no doubt that the winds really, when the Tramontana kicks in, she's here for a while and she lets you know that she's here type thing. But it's not, I mean, it's like cars are blowing off the highway or anything like that. The great Zaza. Bonjour, y'all. Just went for a bunch of errands. Well, glad you could join. Thank you so much for joining in. Oh yeah, the people talking about very windy. It's windy, but I mean, like I said, I don't mind it just because it helps with the circulation, especially when it gets hot out. I'd rather it was a little breezy. Forced in 2026. Jean-Marc, do you need to take the required language test? No, not for the 1-year renewals. Now, after 5 years, I think I can apply for a 10-year, and that might require a language. But by that point, I'll be over 65, and I don't know if that still applies. I think it really is more for well, I don't know. Again, grain of salt. Let's take it with this, but I'll do whatever I need to do to maintain. If I have to keep doing 1-year residency visas for a while, that's fine. But I am working on my French, so I'm hoping that over time to get that taken care of. I'm stuck in Saint Raphael with the Mistral for a whole day. They're no joke. The winds are, the winds are they're there. How did Freya get her name? Well, I had Thor. Chronologically, not in the right order, but I wanted to have Thor and Freya just so that they were brother and sister. although obviously technically they're not. Freya's all of 7 pounds and Thor was 24 pounds. But in any case, and they also weren't, like I said, in the chronological order. Freya should have been older, but she came by 6 years after Thor. So that, yeah. Yeah, she's got to get charged up again. You're right. You're right. Not living in the U.S. and living where you don't speak the language. Do you think you'll stay indefinitely? Arlene's asking, feel disoriented not living in the U.S. and living where you don't speak the language. Do you think you'll stay indefinitely? I don't know. That's my intent to stay. I don't, see how it goes. And I don't really feel disoriented. It's not. I don't mind looking a fool when I go out there and try to speak something. I ask people to correct me. If I'm saying something wrong or if I don't know what I'm trying to say, I don't have any problem asking people. It's like, qu'est-ce que c'est le mot pour la? I think like, what's the word for that? Or how do I say this? So when I go in and get a haircut, how do I say, ma cheveux? That type thing. And so it's a matter of putting words together. And I'm sure I sound like a simpleton when I'm trying to speak to people at times, but they've all been very kind so far. So I figure, what's the worst they're going to do? Let's see. I'm sure I'm destroying that. Asked if now they seem very settled there, describe what is a week like in life there for you, please. Well, until I started doing YouTube, I would say it was, well, not that my videos are all that exciting, but it's just primarily meeting up with friends every once in a while, going out to lunch, running my just kind of basic errands that I do, and just trying to absorb what I can and just taking life slowly. I don't rush anything. I don't, I'm not, and early on in my career type thing, when I graduated from college, and I graduated early from college, and I just could not wait to work. I mean, I just wanted to get out there and start earning money and paying back my student loans and doing all this other crap. And, I had it all wrong. I'm just, just not looking back. It's like, what were you thinking? I was a workaholic. I worked 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week. When I was working in Colorado Springs, it was 7 days a week, on the project. And so I just was very dumb about that. And so when it came time that I had to close the business and, look to do something else, do this something, it's like, I'm done. I'm done. I want to enjoy some time. So right now for me, it's just, getting to know people, getting to know the area, looking to learn more about the language, but I don't do a whole lot. I should be doing more with that, so but I don't beat myself up about it. It's like, it'll come when it comes. And, as long as my health is holding up, then everything's all right. Everything's all right. Let's see. Jean-Marc, I bought my house before the visa. I got lucky, but the house needed. Oh, yes, Jean-Marc. Yes. Yes. And congratulations on all that. Let's see. Diana asked, did I get my driver's license in Perpignan? No. Well, I'm in the process of exchanging it. So I did it in time, hopefully, that I didn't have to do the driver test and the written test and all that. So I'm just going through the exchange process, but nobody has told me no yet, but that could be coming down the pipe. So let's see. I just visited for a few days, stayed in a small guest house as part of a winery. It was really lovely. Yeah, Perpignan's a nice city. I mean, it seems to get kind of a bad rap from some folks. But honestly, I think Perpignan's a fine little city. It's not, it's very diverse. You can get pretty much any type of food that you want to get here, except for Mexican. So, if you're really diehard Mexican or Tex-Mex, you're gonna be SOL. But it's not a thing here. So, okay, you're free to travel back and forth while you're in the visa process. Are you free to travel back and forth to USA while you're in the visa process? Oh, sure, as long as your visa is active. My visa was good through the end of April 2025. When I put in for the renewal, after a bit, they sent me a note saying that now that would have been problematic if I hadn't gotten anything from them and um, decided to travel back to the U.S. type thing. It would have been problematic trying to come back just because my visa wouldn't have been active at that point. But because it was in the process of being renewed, they extended it, I think, through the end of August, something like that. And I got a piece of paper. And when they tell you here, by the way, by the just free pro tip, when they tell you here that they give you any piece of paper, I think, and I mean anything, something like that, you keep a hold of that thing, and it's precious to you. You put it in a folder, you do something, you put it away, you do not throw it away, you do not shred it, you do not do anything else. You hold on to it. You make a copy of it. If anybody asks you for a copy of something, you do not ever give them an original. You take a copy, you give them the copy type thing. But the French, and there might be true of other countries here, but the French love their paperwork. And so the more you have, the better you're going to be, the easier it's going to be to do things. So, but if you come here, every piece of paper you get, I do not care how invaluable or non-valuable that you find it might be type thing, you put it away in your little folder and you hold on to it. Let's see. Cleans the blue sky blue. Yes, the Tramontana. Yes. Oh, nice, Sherry. That's cool. Let's see. Elizabeth asked if Perpignan has the palm trees or the coconut trees there too. I don't know. I haven't seen any, but I don't know. John Mark. Oh yes, okay, I gotcha. Oh, Gerard said no trees. Okay. Tabitha, please describe the process to renew each year. It's not that much different than the original process of getting the visa. They tell you exactly what they're looking for. So it's just going to be, proof of income, proof of assets, um, healthcare. But of course, by then I had my carte vitale. So I just sent in my carte vitale information. I think the more that and again, take this with a grain of salt, the more you look like you've done something to assimilate into French culture, the more likely it's going to be a quicker renewal process. So, I've got a long-term lease. I have, it's 12 months, but I have a long-term lease. I have a French bank account. I have a carte vitale, which if you have a carte vitale, it's going to default that you have a French bank account because you have to have a French bank account in order to get reimbursed for things. So, but in any case, so so it's not hard. It's not hard at all. It's just send in the paperwork and you do it online. It's just that what the hardest part is just letting them do their thing and understand that you're not going to get updates on things. It's not going to be sending you a thing saying, "Hey, you'll get something saying, "Hey, we received your information." But it's not like, "Hey, we just got to this point of reviewing it and everything looking good, and we're going to be getting back to you in a couple of weeks." No, none of that. None of that. It's all surprise. You're you're renewed type thing. This should okay. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. But yeah, I've got to work on that. I know I say gar wrong too. So just a matter of getting a change, learning it's difficult leaving when you have a really good job. Yes, Jean Marc, that's true. That's true. So MK is asking how's the air quality in your area compared to Nice? I don't know. Je ne sais pas. It seems good, but I don't know that it's any better or any worse than what Nice has. Don't spend more than 90 days outside of France. Before the visit Spain, I had a chance to see a European Roman. Oh, okay, very cool. Wow. Oh, Diana's asking what Freya's looking at the window, and Lord only knows what she's looking at. There's a street behind me, and then on the other side of the street, which every once in a while you might hear in the videos, is a like a kindercare. What am I trying to say here? It's a place where like young kids, like very young kids, are kind of held throughout the day, sort of thing. So daycare. That's what I'm thinking of. So in any case, but there's nobody over there right now. Of course, it's Sunday. So um, well, anyway, it looks like I'm way over time. I'm way over time. Preschool, yes, thank you. The In any case, I appreciate everybody coming in and having the questions, and thanks so much for joining me on my first one. And we'll look, crash, crash. Okay, okay. Well, thank you, Gerard. That, but thank you for joining me. And like I said, I'll be doing these on Sunday nights. Um, if it turns out that I just thought that this is a better time for people, just because it's a little later in the day for the people in the U.S. But if I need to do them a little later, just to get a chance to get people a little later in the day on their time, I could try to do that. Again, not like I'm getting up and going to work in the morning. So in any case, I appreciate everybody coming on, and I hope everybody has a great week. And thanks so much for joining. Au revoir.